So, did anyone else cry during the commercial for the adapted Xbox controller?
Yes.
I didn't see it.
Oh, we might need to kind of take a break this early on just to go show it to you.
Okay.
It's the most beautiful thing.
Well, we'll watch it after.
Yeah, we'll watch it after.
Basically, the adaptive Xbox controller. So what they've done is they've created a controller that people who have, like, disabilities that would make using a regular controller difficult.
Oh,
Can you?
I'm already crying.
Yeah. It was really moving and it was really cute. And
Yeah.
we cried a lot.
It's great. It's
Happy
like
Super Bowl, everyone.
it's like this big, like it's huge and just like sits on your lap, and you've got like they have like foot pedals and stuff and like different things you can do, so you can use it in a whole bunch of different ways. But like they showed it in front of the Super Bowl, they were showing it in front of YouTube videos. There was multiple times where I would turn on like a YouTube video and that ad would come up and I'd sit there and just watch the whole thing, and then when it was done I'd forget that I was like planning to watch a video and wasn't just watching that commercial, and so I'd back out of it.
Yeah.
That happened a couple of times.
That happened with that commercial with Donald Glover dancing with the animated version of himself.
Yeah.
Too. I did the same thing.
I did that.
I did that with the adaptive controller, and I did that with him.
Yeah.
Where I was like, that was cool, and then I assumed that had been the video I intended to watch, and I forgot all about what I was actually there to do, and I backed out of it, and then I felt foolish.
That adaptive controller made me cry a couple times.
So sweet.
It was really cute. I had to stop watching it after a while because I was like, I can't do it right now. I was gonna watch a funny list video.
I love funny internet lists. So, Erin, what are you playing right now?
Not too much right now, but I bought the Liar Princess and the Blind Prince, which is adorable because I was feeling the whole Valentine's Day vibe. And I'm actually kind of upset because I thought it was just for PS4. And so I bought it for PS4, and then I found out you can get it on Switch too, which would be a much better console for it, just because of, how you can take the Switch everywhere. And
The mobility.
Yeah, the mobility. But... which, it's fine. It's still a great game. I also have been playing Degrees of Separation, which is another adorable game. That one came out on Valentine's Day.
That one's also on the Switch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, also kind of upset about that. But we got another DualShock controller, and it's red and it's beautiful. Because that game is multiplayer, so that's a good thing.
So at least you get to play it with a pretty red controller.
Yeah. That's about it right now. I've been taking a break from other games. But Anthem is coming out in a couple of days, so yeah. That's gonna be all I'm gonna play for a while.
I wish I could get it.
Oh.
What are you playing right now, Jensen?
Well, I am contenting myself with playing games that I should have beaten months ago. I finished Vampire. It was quite fun. I managed to do it without killing any of the civilians, which basically I played it on the hardest mode my first time through.
Yeah, most of the complaints that I've been seeing about Vampire, I think that you avoided a lot of those problems basically by just playing it on hard mode.
Yeah.
Like, it was nice and challenging for you to try not to murder anyone.
Yeah. It got a little bit tough. I'd say when I started it out, it was quite easy. And I was like fighting people who were 2 or 3 times my level for a little while. And I was like, this is fine. And then it just spiked. And it was really hard for a little bit. And I was like struggling with it. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to save everyone. But then I got through it. And then at the very end, it just got really easy for like the entire last chapter. I just didn't have any trouble at all. Mm-hmm. And the last boss was really easy. And it was good though. I enjoyed it a lot. It was fun. It was nice to play as a vampire. It wasn't quite what I was hoping from, a vampire game, but it's the best vampire game I've played since Vampire the Masquerade, so it was fun. It was worth it. And then
Is Castlevania a vampire game?
You don't play as a vampire.
Okay.
Okay, I'll say vampire RPG.
Yeah,
because
fine.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah.
Well, okay, you probably do play it as a vampire in some Castlevania games,
You
but
play as
not many of the
Alucard.
ones I've played. because I've only played 64.
Oh.
Because I'm terrible at side scrollers, and I just haven't picked up any of the other ones that aren't side scrollers. So
It's not really like well, okay, it is a side
the
scroller.
the
But
early
you know what I
ones are.
mean? It's like it's got its own special designation.
I know, but I'm just really bad at them. I'm really bad at them.
Metroidvania, not so much.
No, I'm so bad at those games.
Okay, well, that's fair.
And now I started Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and then like immediately after I started it, I was like, "Ooh, I want to play some Saints Row 2." And I forgot that for some reason it doesn't work on my PlayStation.
Oh.
And there's moments where the sound will just cut out and there'll be no sound for like the entire cutscene. Like no, people are talking. I can see that they're talking, but I can't hear anything. Or like the music will just like stop. And sometimes it doesn't load at all. It'll stay at 5% loading constantly.
Oh, I
left it
remember
once
that.
on overnight. I
Yeah.
fell asleep waiting for it, and when I woke up the next morning, it was still at 5%.
Oh my gosh.
So I gave up on that, and then I started playing Assassin's Creed, the first one, because I remembered that I remembered that we're going to Italy and Greece with our parents this summer, and I wanted to replay the games that take place in Italy. And I was like, but I can't just start with the second one because I'm crazy. So I'm starting with the first one. And I'm going to play the first, the second, and Brotherhood before we leave.
Because I'm a masochist.
Yes. But I'm almost done with it.
Nice.
So yeah,
Very nice.
that's what I'm playing.
So I've got to confess something. I played the demo for Anthem that was, out live a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
And I know that Anthem's coming out in a few days. Guys, I don't think I'm going to play Anthem.
Aww.
Sorry.
No.
I don't know. I say that, but I'm still on the fence. That's the thing, is I've been thinking about it for a few weeks.
You say that knowing full well you're probably going to borrow it from me once you get a PlayStation and once I have money to buy it.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to play it with Erin at least.
That's the thing,
Maybe
is that
with me if she ever gets her own copy.
when I say I'm not gonna play Anthem, I don't think I'm gonna get into it to the degree that they're hoping I will, because I'm just not. It's a Destiny, and I don't need a Destiny.
It's a lot like Destiny.
And I there's a reason why I haven't played Destiny.
I
think
from the demo that I played, I think I like it way better than Destiny.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is I had fun with
like this.
I had a lot of fun with it, especially as I was messing around and I started to get the flight mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, flying around's fun, shooting's fun. Now what? I don't know. Maybe it's just that because it was the demo, they really avoided giving us anything about like what the storyline's actually going to be. But like, does BioWare not know that we play their games for the story?
I don't know.
Should somebody tell them?
I mean, that's the feeling I got when I was playing the demo. It only let you do, 3 areas or something?
Yeah, and I didn't even go to most of them. I tried to go to a second area, and it glitched out, and my guy was just stuck, floating in the air.
So I'm saying I don't think I'm going to play it. What I really mean is I am not going to, go out and get this right away. This isn't going to be one of the first games that I play when I have my beautiful PS4 Pro, which will happen soon.
Yes.
I'm not going to do that because I'm just not. But but I might end up eventually getting Anthem and playing it, especially if I hear from people who are playing it that no, it has this really great storyline. Mm-hmm. If I start to hear those kinds of comments from you guys, for instance, then maybe I'll give it another shot. But I was looking at it and I was just like, this is beautiful. I love these cute little creatures. The mechanics are fun. It's a game where you shoot stuff and you fly around.
Yeah,
So.
I'm hopeful that there's going to be a lot of story stuff because, that really is why I play BioWare games, is for the story. But I'm also similarly worried just because it does feel a lot like Destiny in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And I couldn't get into Destiny.
I kind of couldn't help but wonder if maybe what was going on was they were just trying to make some money so that they can fund some other passion project.
And if that's the case, I fully support that because I love BioWare so much. I just want them to be able to make the things that they want to make.
Yeah.
And if they've got to make Anthem to kind of like build up a bit of money so they can finish Dragon Age 4, that's totally fine with me. Like, whatever. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Just go back to Dragon Age, okay?
But I was kind of left with that impression of like, is this really what they wanted to make, or is this what they felt like they needed to make?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I've heard that they wanted to make it more focused on like the single player aspect because they have so many of those games where it's like, well, you can do single player, but it's going to be really ridiculously hard. So if you don't have a bunch of friends who play this, you're screwed. So I hope that that's true. What I heard is that they want to make it more accessible to single players.
I hope so. I did struggle a little bit playing by myself during the demo at a couple places, but whatever. I'm going to play Anthem by myself if I have to.
Well, and it did seem like those situations where you get kind of pinned down on your own, it was pretty easy to just fly away.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Aaron could have a point there for sure. That this is going to be a game that's going to be more accessible for people who want to do single player, which would definitely distinguish it from a lot of its peers.
Yeah. Plus, we could just play it on easy.
That's true.
We were playing it on normal the whole time.
Were we?
Yeah, we could just play it on easy.
I didn't even know
I didn't think about that the whole time. I was like, every time I would start it up, I'd see that normal and I'd be like, I am by myself. Should I switch that to easy? And I'm like, I'll be fine.
Was it?
And I was mostly fine.
Yeah.
Was it naive of me to not realize that there was a difficulty setting?
No.
Okay. I just didn't even notice.
I
didn't expect there to be a difficulty. So.
Yeah, I didn't either. Unless a game brings up the difficulty for me to choose at the very beginning of it, I almost never
You
even
just
think
assume
about
it doesn't have one.
Yeah, I don't even think about it unless it's like when you start a new game of Kingdom Hearts and it's like, what level do you want to play on? And then I'm like, oh, I guess easy because I just want to get through the story and not have.
I just want to go hang out with Donald and Goofy.
I just want to hang out with Donald and Goofy and not have to deal with super annoying Japanese boss fights.
Yeah,
Like 17 health bars and 14 transformations.
Yeah, I made the mistake of selecting normal mode because I was like, oh, that should be fine. I was like, what have I done?
I didn't attempt normal on that game, on the first game, until 2 years ago when I finally beat it.
What is the worst thing about video games? I'll go first since I've got mine right in front of me. So I think that this is a bit like misanthropic of me, but honestly, I just can't stand a lot of the fandom stuff. Just think about everything that just makes you feel sad and annoyed about reading the comments on any YouTube video multiplied by whatever faith you've had stolen from you as games have been more and more disappointing over the years. Like, that's kind of how I feel when it comes to facing a lot of stuff in video game fandom.
Or even like games that aren't disappointing. Oh, that had a couple little problems. And then people treat it like it's like...
Yeah, that's the thing.
The greatest blasphemy against games to ever exist.
I think it's the toxic fandom. And, like, there's a lot of little things in that. Like, I think hype culture kind of builds things up to such an extent that then when they don't turn out to be as unrealistically amazing as people, for some reason, thought they would be, then it's like this broken pedestal. And then they're just even that much more toxic and angry and that much harder to be around. And then it's also, you know, just a lot of the misogyny, a lot of those kinds of issues that just keep popping up over and over again. It gets a little bit wearisome. My least favorite things about games is just all the toxic fandom stuff. Yeah.
That's precisely why I'm so nervous about, like, reaching out to other people when I'm, like, playing a multiplayer game. Like, there's a while where I turned on the online aspect of Fable too, so that I could see people's little like orbs floating around. And it was kind of fun until I started noticing orbs coming over to me, and then I'd be like, get away, get away, like run away from them. But in Fable 3, I'd notice like the orbs would like come up to me and then start like circling around me, or they'd like send me a friend request. Like in the second game, they just like leave me alone, but in the third one, they'd like come straight up to me and then send me a request, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. So I don't know, what else was I getting at with that?
Nothing.
No, I had a thing I was saying. I swear I had a point. I was talking about multiplayer and how I don't like people. I have anxiety.
I've been getting, like, I've kind of been slowly opening up to the idea that, like, multiplayer can be fun, and playing video games with other people does not have to just be a demonstration of how big a jerk they can be. But that was kind of a lot of my, like, early life experience with multiplayer. And I never really got over it, and I never really got into a lot of multiplayer games. Which circles us back around to not needing a Destiny in my life. But that having been said, I don't know. I think I'm hoping that my attitude can be changed a little, which is, you know, preface for later. And also, I mean, obviously, I'm kind of open to the idea that there can be this wonderful community in gaming, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have suggested that a podcast was a good idea. So pretty much my answer is, the worst thing about gaming is you.
I remembered what I was going to say.
What were you going to say, Jensen?
I was going to say how whenever I'm like looking up something on a game, like about a game, and I go to like a forum, because I like search in Google, okay, how do I get through this quest? Or does this choice have a big impact on this quest, kind of a thing. And I'll get taken to some forum where people are talking about it, and inevitably there'll be some idiot who just brings up something that has nothing to do with anything. Like, there will almost always be one person who comes on there to say, this game is stupid. And I'm like, what are you doing here?
My favorite is
Did you just seek out this game just so you could tell people they shouldn't play it because it's stupid? Because nobody wants you here.
My favorite is the person who inevitably gets on and is like, what platform are you playing it on?
Oh,
and then no matter what they say, they're like, that's stupid, you should play it on PS4. Or that's stupid, you should play it on Xbox.
Or PC Master Race.
Yeah, exactly. Like every single time.
Like, it doesn't matter, you guys.
There's always that one dude. It's like, go home.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, you can choose whatever system you want to play it on, but it shouldn't matter to you at all what anyone else is playing it on. The only thing that should ever matter is what system your friends are playing it on, so that if you want to play it with them, you can. It's the only decision I ever make, like, where I consult someone else about what system I should get a game on, is if I'm planning to play the game with them.
Mm-hmm. Although you do just sort of intuitively know which one it's supposed to be on sometimes, don't you?
Well, it's because I just, in my mind, I have ones that I feel like belong on different systems.
Well, and I think everybody feels that. For example, I think Minecraft found the perfect home on the Switch.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, I think there's some games that just, like, work on a specific console, and I kind of get feeling passionately about that, but I don't get feeling passionately that everybody else should feel passionately about that.
Mm-hmm. The worst thing about video games is the idea that a game needs some kind of competitive multiplayer. I hate it when there's like a perfectly good single player game and then they just like shoehorn in a bunch of multiplayer features. I think that the one that that pissed me off the most in that category was probably Assassin's Creed Unity, because they lock so much content behind the multiplayer stuff, and it's like stuff you need to get like XP to level up can only be gotten by doing multiplayer stuff. And I get that they're like, oh yeah, Unity, like they wanted you to like come together, that's why there's 4 characters on the box. But I don't have friends who play this game. We tried that one time and it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And so the
terrible.
one time I ever thought, okay, I'm gonna play some Assassin's Creed Unity multiplayer, it just didn't work. And I have no interest in playing it with someone I don't know. Like, how am I gonna be able to, like, I don't know, I don't like the idea of trying to go through this mission where like it's stealth, so it requires a lot of timing and all that stuff with some rando who I don't know and may not even be able to communicate with because they may not have a headset. And like,
yeah, like I'm all for multiplayer option, but when they take a game like that doesn't need to be multiplayer and they make it so you need to play it multiplayer.
Yeah. Like there's so much content of that game that I've just never experienced because it's locked behind multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
And my character was so underleveled. I got through the entire last half of the game by using berserk darts. Like I'd just like hide behind something, I'd shoot a berserk dart at someone, and then I'd watch them go crazy, kill a bunch of others, sometimes spread it to someone else, and then once they were like all like, you know, the berserk had worn off and maybe a bunch of people were dead, I'd shoot another one. And that's how I got through the entire last half of the game. I did nothing else. There was a couple times where I'd run in, kill my target, and then I'd just run away with like 30 guards following me, and I just jump out a window, and that was how I got through the game. So Aaron.
Okay, so I think the worst thing about video games is, especially nowadays, so kind of going hand in hand with what you both have already said, but pretty much my biggest complaint is the lack of not only couch co-op, but couch co-op RPGs,
Yeah,
which are like non-existent. So my husband Zach and his friends absolutely love Super Smash Brothers.
They're playing it right now.
Yeah, they're playing it right now. If you can hear the clickety clack of controllers, we apologize, but thanks, guys.
That's on purpose.
Yeah. But I don't enjoy Super Smash Brothers because he and all of his friends have been playing since the first game came out on Nintendo 64, and they are at a ridiculous level where I can never come close to, you know, like even being able to compete. And so I just get my butt handed to me every single game, and that's just not fun for me. But there are games like Ultimate Chicken Horse and Castle Crashers, which I do love. But with Ultimate Chicken Horse, it's fun for like maybe an hour, and then I just get bored and I stop focusing and my coordination goes down, so I just start sucking, and I'd rather be playing something else, like an RPG. So I just really want there to be more co-op games that are RPG and narrative driven and give you control over all your choices. And I'd also love to be able to do that like on the couch with someone, instead of it being like, well, if you don't have a friend with this system and this game, then you're out of luck. Like, I don't understand why couch co-op is just completely disappearing off the face of the earth, except for with party games. And yeah, that's just
Yeah, I was thinking about Castle Crashers, and like that one does have some light narrative elements to it, which is really fun. But it is kind of more a party game than anything else.
Yeah.
And it's kind of too bad that you don't see more of those narrative elements being like brought out.
I just thought of one. So I've been like really annoyed that local co-op is kind of going out the window, because there's been tons of games recently that I'm like, oh man, this has multiplayer. Can I play this with my sister? And then it's like, nope. I'm like, great. But there is one that you guys could play that I don't know if it's quite an RPG, but it's got those kind of elements, and it's co-op, like you're working together. There's no competitive nature as far as I know. I don't know what the story is like, but it's called A Way Out. And you play two guys in prison who break out.
I've heard of
and
that.
you like separate off, and I think it is an RPG actually. I feel like I saw a movie scene of like a conversation with someone where one guy was talking to someone and the other guy was off in the background doing something else, like while he was distracting him. But yeah, you should play that. There's a demo of it on PlayStation Store.
Yeah, that sounds way cool.
Now you guys have two controllers. Yeah.
I still want to try playing that, just because, like you said, I think that it's too bad that a lot of local co-op is becoming pretty obsolete. But I heard that it was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We
a
could
bummer.
still try it just because, like, I kind of want to see for myself.
I'd like to
and
test
I'd
it
like
for
to at
myself.
least.
I watched a bit of gameplay at GDC for it, and the only thing about it that really bummed me out from what I saw was I asked one of the guys there who was running it if you can hide bodies after you knock people out, and he said no. And I was like, that feels like the most basic thing for a game like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Why did they...
Ever since you told me that,
Why did they not put that in there?
ever since you told me that, I've been mildly worried. But I think we should try it anyway.
Yeah, we should try it anyway because I have the demo.
Yeah.
But you guys should get the demo and try it out, and if you like it, like,
Then
there's a
yeah.
couch co-op.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like just trying to solve your problem with video games. Just saying, I
No.
can't think of one.
Yeah, it's good to know.
And I did tell you about Divinity Original Sin 2, which I think it does have a co-op, like a competitive thing towards the end, but I think you can play through the entire game co-op.
Yeah.
As far as favorite things about video games go, I'm gonna go ahead and offer the counterpoint to my original argument of what the worst video games were and say that there actually is a lot about the gaming community that I really like too. And more so now than there has been in years past. I feel like that stereotype of gamers being these weirdos who are just isolated totally applies to me sometimes. Because definitely it's always been a really solitary thing for me. And I do love to just kind of sit down with like a puzzle or a story and just kind of work my way through it and just be all alone with myself. Like, I really like that. But that having been said, so much about like gaming as a more community-based thing is becoming really, really nice, I guess. It's just like everything from just getting some more enjoyment out of multiplayer than I have in the past. I had a great time with Super Smash Bros. I actually kind of love a lot of the multiplayer aspects of Dark Souls. Even the stuff that is a little bit more toxic is still kind of hilarious sometimes if you're in the right mood. And they have all kinds of safeguards and stuff in ways. I like being able to indict people. You know, like there's little things like that where it just kind of they can make it fun. Even sort of acknowledging that sometimes people are going to be jerks, but here's how we're going to deal with it. Like, I think that those sort of creative solutions are becoming great, but also I just think that there's a lot about the gaming community that's improving and that's growing up. And I mean, the adaptive controller, I think, is a really nice sort of symbol of that idea of like, no, we want to be more inclusive. Like, we want games to be for everybody. And we want it to be, you know, about being able to find your friends and your support system and people to play with. And like, that's a really wonderful idea. And I was thinking about this live stream that H-Bomber Guy did a few weeks ago that was to earn a lot of money for, I can't remember the name of the foundation. It was to raise a bunch of money to help like trans kids. And like those kinds of things that people are doing now, using gaming as like a just basically another way to reach out to people and another way to come together. And I like that. It's nice. Yeah. But I also like to be alone and just play my game.
You like the more like low-key multiplayer aspects.
Yeah,
like
I
how
like
in Dark Souls you can see people's ghosts, so like you can see that there are other people playing the game with you, but you don't necessarily have to interact with them.
I love that moment. I'm like, oh look, somebody else fell off that cliff. Like, that's great.
Yeah, I understand that. That's the aspect that I liked about Fable online things, is the same kind of thing where you like, when the orbs weren't following me around, it was cool to see that there were people playing the game. My favorite aspect of gaming is just the art of it all. When I started playing games, it was almost exclusively the like kind of time waster kind of stuff, like Asteroids and Tetris and some of these other ones. And it's like
Tetris serves a beautiful purpose in my brain.
Tetris is lovely, but like those, they have their place, and I love them for what they are. But like when I was little, I wanted more story. I wanted more out of my games. Like those kind of games are fun for a little while, but I'm not going to dedicate hours and hours just, you know, playing Tetris. I play Tetris for like a short little while, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. But like, you know, that we're moving into these stories, you know, and like The majority of AAA games today, they tend to have deep three-dimensional characters and like just really beautiful environments and stuff. And that's why I like AAA games. I like my story, I like my characters, and I like my pretty visuals.
Fair to say you like the games that started to develop in the era when people figured out, or at least when people started to figure out like what games really could become as a medium.
When people started to realize that games were an art form and they weren't just like, those are for losers who live in their parents' basements. Shh, I totally live with my parents. Me too. And you live in our parents' basement. But
All of us live.
we all live in our parents' basement. I forgot.
My husband and I live in my parents'
We're
basement.
currently in your parents' basement.
But we're not losers.
No, I'm sad.
Did you just think about that? Well, you know what? That's what they get for just being wonderfully supportive and stable and,
Yeah.
having kids.
Yeah.
I haven't always lived with them, at least. I did move away for a little while. I mean, not that it would be worse necessarily, but just like,
In my defense, when we started this podcast, I hadn't lived with my parents for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I hadn't lived with my parents since my mid-20s. And then I moved back in with them like 2 months ago.
I've never lived away from my parents.
Oh, man.
My mom jokingly tells me that we're never allowed to move out.
Well, they have this lovely, fully furnished basement.
The thing about you guys living in your parents' basement is that it doesn't feel like it feels with me and Elsa, where it feels a little bit sad. It's like, everybody loves Raymond. You know how he lives across the street from his parents?
Yeah.
That's how it feels with you guys.
Anyway, my point
really
about
derailed.
gamers not being sad people who live in their parents' basement is a little bit undercut by the fact that we are all, in fact, living with our parents.
Oh, man. I thought that was my point.
Yeah.
Did you just take my point from me?
Yes, I did, because I'm hoping that you'll realize how much of this needs to be edited out.
Oh, no, I already know.
So that we're not, at least the most embarrassing parts. Please. Maybe like when I started weeping quietly. We could just cut that.
Okay.
It was pretty bad.
All right. Erin. Wait, did you already? Yeah. What's your favorite part? Got a whole lot of laughter from Erin that I'm gonna have to edit out.
And a little bit of choking.
So I'm gonna be that person and go super cheesy on everyone, super cliche. I love being able to lose myself in video games. Like, people who read books, it's the same thing. You're like lost in another world and you feel like you're part of something amazing. But especially with video games, because you're controlling the character and in a lot of cases you're controlling what happens in the story. And so, I love being able to sit back and watch a show, but sometimes I just want to be in charge and take control and just feel unstoppable. And I love the gorgeous scenery that I would otherwise have absolutely no interest in making an effort to get to, because hiking is not my friend. So yeah, I get to visit like vast, amazing worlds without even leaving my house.
I like that.
Okay, so our last topic of conversation. You can have your choice of video game bae. So like your choice of your favorite video game character to have for your very own. But it has to be like the worst, most low-res version of them from any game. Do you still want that?
So like, okay, if I choose Link, you're talking like
Pixel Link.
Yeah. Pixel Link.
It's gotta be Pixel Link.
Well, I'm not choosing Link.
I mean, even in his high-res versions, he doesn't talk, so would you really want that?
Yeah.
Elsa would.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm like, maybe.
And so like because like, here's the deal. I don't know that I do have some video game bays, if I'm being honest. I mean, I guess I could go for Alucard, but once again, we're going with
Oh, goodness.
really
That's some low res. He'd just be a bunch of boxes right here.
just be a bunch of boxes.
He'd still be like your same height. We're not talking like a tiny little guy the size of this.
And here's the deal. I actually feel like I would get away pretty good if I went for Guts, because the video game version of Guts is not that bad. But
No, lowest res that's ever existed means the 2016 horrible CGI version. Yeah. He's all stiff and weird looking.
Not that weird.
His
Guts.
face is all messed up.
Okay, this isn't fun anymore.
Okay. But what if I choose a character who like has always been high res?
No, you have to low res them out.
So they get even lower res than they already are.
Yeah.
Like if they're okay, so like if I chose Aloy, then she would be like
It'd have to be like the version of Aloy that's like the hair is clipping through everything and her facial animations as stiff as it can possibly be, like, you know, where it kind of awkwardly was in a few scenes. And you're watching her through like a really crappy TV.
So okay, that's what I was about to ask is so if I chose Garrus, then I take the TV I used to play Mass Effect on, the TV I first played Mass Effect on that was 5 inches.
Yeah.
And that's
that one.
from the first game.
Where it's like all those pixels are just trying to get crammed into one.
I might still choose Garrus. I'm
got,
gonna
like-
think about it first.
You got like 3 watts working behind that.
I'll let you answer first, Aaron.
I'm having a hard time with this too. I mean, so initially I was thinking Dante from the first Devil May Cry isn't horrible.
He's not too bad. He's not too bad.
Actually not bad.
But then, like, I think about his personality, which I loved when I was a kid. You know, when it first came out, I was like, he's so cool. And I'm like, wow, he's kind of a D-bag.
A little bit of
So, maybe not Dante, but probably Nathan Drake from Uncharted.
So,
but he's gotta be low res
from the first game.
Even though it's from the first game.
So if he's from the first game, wait,
he has a great personality.
wait, that raises some questions though. So if his personality, like, is it from the first game?
Yeah.
From when he's low res?
Well, the personality
Or
can
just
be
his personality, 'cause
their
he
canon
changes.
personality.
He
Like-
changes as a person
He
over the course of
does.
the game. But are you getting him from like where he is now in the series, or are you getting him from where he is with his low resolution?
I think it's only fair to let you be a little bit more fan fiction-y with their personality, where it's like a reasonable interpretation of.
Okay.
You know?
So I'm not necessarily, if I do choose Garrus, I'm not necessarily getting Garrus from the first game where he didn't have a lot to work with. Like there wasn't like
I don't know though. I still kind of dug.
No,
Garrett.
he's a fun guy, but like since you didn't get to talk to him very much, you didn't really get to know him too much in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm still thinking about it. But another question brought up: if it's low resolution, like Nathan Drake from the first game, does that mean that he's just like the clumsiest person ever, and he's just gonna like run off of cliffs, just like randomly?
Yeah,
You'll be walking around with him, and suddenly he'll just like jump on top of like a low wall and start crouch walking across it, and then just leap sideways to his death.
I'm thinking that their abilities have to sort of match their weird polygonal shape.
Okay.
Like for example, if one of us were to choose Garrett from Thief, then like he can sneak around
Just
and be
stealing
unseen,
stuff
but he's
constantly.
just like this weird pair of stiff arms.
Well,
He did look pretty good in cutscenes because they didn't do the CG thing. They did kind of like the art.
But lowest resolution he's ever
Animated.
been is his weird
His weird
polygon
stiff
arms.
As long as he doesn't look like the guards, like they're all triangular and weird.
Yeah.
Well,
That's fine.
I know I'm not choosing Garrett.
Hold me, Garrett.
I think I'm adding.
Well, he has arms, so he can still hold you.
Yeah.
I think I'm
just
adding a
very
new
stiffly.
rule that if it's first person like that, then like the bird, then like it's just the weird arms.
It's just their
And like you look
just
down and
the
there's like
arms.
no legs, you know.
I think we can see his
Or
legs,
there's like
actually.
little boxy feet.
Yeah,
then.
little boxy really angular feet. And a blackjack.
I think I'm gonna go with Garrett. I just keep coming right back to him. I really love Garrett. I think we'd have a fun time together. And even if he's low resolution, like, you know, on my 5-inch TV, he's already an alien, so he already looks weird. Yeah. If he's weird looking and low res, I mean, whatever.
Then it's just kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jensen found the right answer to this question.
Yes.
It's Garrett from Mass Effect.
Yes. Who are you choosing?
Oh,
you weren't planning to answer? Because I made it difficult by telling you that if you're going to be with Guts, you had to be with him from the 2016 movie.
Well, I wouldn't want to be with Guts anyway.
Okay, actually, technically there have been lower resolutions versions of him, because, like, Dreamcast, there was a game.
Yeah.
So actually, you could maybe go with the Dreamcast version of him.
But it has to be the crappiest, most low res.
Oh,
and,
you're right.
And that's not always
the 26 version is probably crappier, but not lower res.
What if I just went with Yoshi?
Go with Yoshi. I mean, you can just have this big polygonal Yoshi just following around all the time. You can ride on him.
That'd be fun, actually.
He can jump really high. You can eat people that you're mad at.
Whoa.
You can be sitting there on top of Yoshi, just like hanging out while you're doing someone's taxes, and if they're angry and like being annoying, you can just have them go Yum, and just eat them and then poop them out in a big egg. A big polygonal egg behind you.
This got really dark.
They'll be fine.
As dark as Yoshi can get.
Okay. I think we need to wrap this up.
Okay.
I think we peaked with the Yoshi poop
Yeah.
joke. I have no idea how to end this. We still haven't come up with anything.
We're really bad at this.
We still didn't introduce ourselves at the beginning.
Oh yeah, this is Princess in Another Podcast.
We're never going to do that.
If you can't read.
Wait, we should just keep it in, but at the end. Like, you know how at the live shows for My Favorite Murder, they'll be like 20 minutes in just talking about nothing, and all of a sudden one of them will go, oh, this is the podcast My Favorite Murder, by the way.
Yeah, I guess we're just doing...
We could just have it at the end.
We're just doing that, except it's even worse, because, like, this is literally how we're going to end the episode. Where we're just be like, by the way, this is Princess in Another Podcast.
Ooh, we could end it by saying... Your princess is in another podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we know that you were all here to rescue your princess, but unfortunately your princess is in another podcast.
Cool.